The topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Inarticulate speech, inarticulate speech of the heart. Inarticulate speech, inarticulate speech of the heart. Inarticulate speech, inarticulate speech of the heart.
Hello, and welcome to It's Your Voice, the show that hosts enriching conversations in diversity. My name is Bahia Yaksan. I'm a core alignment coach, an emotional wisdom training specialist, and a diversity educator. I am so honored that I get to host this show every Wednesday to talk to people from various backgrounds and from various fields and just learn and kind of open up the world more, my world, and hopefully others' worlds. Today, I have a guest who is a very talented and humble physical therapist, but more than a physical therapist. He is a certified Olympic coach, Japanese certified Olympic coach, and a certified physical therapist, and his training is from the formerly known as the Eastern Bloc, and has a very different approach to preventing injuries and caring for injuries. And I'm just so happy we get to hear like how was his training different, how it ends up being a different therapy. I know that I got to see a wonderful musician, maybe he can mention, who has to use both her wrists to play this incredible traditional Japanese instrument. And she was pretty badly injured, but with Hideshi's help, she can play music again. And that's just one little tiny story. So with no further ado, let me introduce Hideshi Okamoto and say thank you and welcome for being here.
Hi, Bahia. Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you so much for spending this time with us.
Thank you for inviting me to our talk today. Thank you very much.
Oh, I'm grateful to you, and I know we're going to learn from you. I thought it would be interesting to first hear from you because my introduction was so tiny of you, and you've done so much, and you have trained elite athletes, teams in different countries. So I wanted to ask you just to provide some background on where you got trained, how, the types of training, how long the training, before we get into why your approach is so effective.
Okay, well, let me talk to you about a little bit my background. I came from Japan, 1981. Went to University of Wyoming to learn for exercise biologies. That is my background. After finish up the graduate school, I went to school at a massage school in Boulder, Colorado, to learning massage.
Mm-hmm.
And same time, I got a job at the Boulder Sports Medicine Hospital. That is my starting point.
Okay.
But I was not comfortable only doing for injured people. At the same time, I got another job position from University of Colorado track team. So I was the PT and the track coach, both parallel. Then track coach position moving up. My athlete improved, but same time they got injured. And my background, I'm a PT, but I couldn't figure out what's wrong with them. I was discussing with the school athletic trainers at the University of Colorado, but their answer was always same. A athlete, B athlete, C athlete. Answer always the same. Then I have a big question mark in front of me. What's wrong with that? The injured are not the same, but the answers are same. I don't think this is the right. That's my biggest concern. Then my athlete performed well, went to Europe. I met two European coaches who is Soviet Union, former, Eastern Germany, Poland, Romania, Bulgaria, Czechoslovakia, Yugoslavia, all Eastern Bloc coaches. Same time, Eastern Bloc athletic trainers talked to me. My English was not the perfect. Same, their English was not the perfect. So non-perfect person talk each other, use for body language. That is I learned full technique. I said, would you please show me your technique? Then they ask me, how about your technique? We exchange all the time. So my athletes are competing at the track, but I was on warming up track to talk to athletic trainers other countries. That is my starting point.
Wow, that was probably a huge form of education, learning
Yes,
techniques from other practitioners who could actually demonstrate.
right. So same times, I was very surprised. Eastern Bloc country, athletic trainer, and sport medicine doctors knowledge are way higher than Western Bloc. USA. I thought USA is number one in the world, but it was a big shock. They are not. Then they said, "Hey, your technique is way too old. This is our new technique. Why don't you look at it?" Then they show me.
And you had recently learned, so you're talking about physical therapy knowledge
Right,
that you had learned in US
right,
US context,
right.
university.
So I use the USA technique base, but
Mhm.
to put the Lara Eastern Bloc technique on top of my base.
Do they have the same did they also have the same base?
They have similar base, but they have more spread out knowledge. So A person, B person, C person, all different injured. But USA almost the same treatment, but they have all each person's different training categories.
And I wanna hear I'll ask you about some stories in a minute, but you ended up coaching did you coach, like, a whole team in a
No,
certain
I'm
sport?
I'm a I'm a only jumping coach.
Oh, jumping coach, okay.
Jump meaning so many injured.
Oh, yeah. And and how long did you do that?
I was coaching at the University of Colorado 1985 through to 2001.
Okay. And I know you've had over 1,000 patients.
Right. Then I moved to California 2002 June. Since that, I'm involving California people,
Athletes from various sports, is that right?
athlete, and just the ordinary people, whatever the human. Actually, not only human. I have a canine massage therapist certificate too.
Oh, yeah?
So I do a dog massage.
Huh.
So whatever a live animal, I do massage.
Wow, that's interesting. What kind of issues have people brought in their dogs for?
Well, dog case, mostly big old dog has issue for the lower back, which is the back side of your leg issue. So I do slightly deep tissue massage, and they are very comfortable, happy to get my massage.
I bet. And what about, what did you do with Romania in Romania or with a
Right, Romania.
Mhm.
So I went to Romania 1991. that's a year, right year after revolution. So country was still horrible, bad.
Mm.
Then I talked to Romania Athletic Federation. This is the Hideshi Okamoto, and I am looking for some athletes who can train with me. So they provide me some training facilities. I went there to look,
Hmm.
but first year, second year doesn't get my interesting athlete. But 1995, I found it that four Romanian female marathon runner, long distance. They are not the top. They are not the top 100 in the world, but looks very high potential athlete. I said, would you like to come to USA train with me? They said, what? Why you pick me up? We have a more good athlete in Romania.
Hmm.
But I said, well, they are older. I'm not looking for older people. I'm looking for young generation had more potential. Then they said, if you don't mind, I can come. So I bring three athletes out of four. So they stay with my apartment and train together. In 1996 Atlanta Olympic,
Hmm.
two athletes selected by Romanian Federation to go to Olympic. So one of my athletes get the 10th place. She was not in the world. So this is her first time experience.
Huh. So it worked.
Right, right. Then after that, she trained with me year by year, year by year. 2000 Sydney Olympic, she got the silver medal.
She got what in Sydney? In
Second place,
wow.
women's marathon.
Oh, I see. Wow. So what do you think, before we go back to injury prevention and injury
Yes,
care, what is it, what's it about your training? Why could they rise? Why could she rise to become a much better athlete? Is it like something besides practice, practice, practice?
right.
Like what's special about your training, you think?
My training is not the pushing. I'm talking to athlete. We are human.
Mm.
Even not the same language, we talk each other. Then my training and also my treatment for athletes are making more relaxation for their bodies.
Mm.
So athletes get tired. How I can release her tension? How I can release her muscle tension? That I do.
And would you say you learned those, was that part of the techniques you learned from the
Yes,
European practitioners?
European countries. Yes. So she was surprised. Hideshi, why do you know our country style? You are in USA. I said, well, this is the way my background. I went to Russia, I went to Romania, I went to Bulgaria, many Eastern Bloc countries. They taught me to how to release muscle tension.
Hmm. And do you think, is that something that you think is missing in standard physical therapy training in your awareness in the US
Well,
style?
USA, they study a lot. They have a lot of knowledge, but they are studying on desk, not on the field.
Hmm.
Need more experience to touching to the more human body. If patient come to a physical therapy office, give paper, do this. No, have to talk and what they need, what's wrong with your muscle, and how you can release your muscle, how you get the injured, how you become pain free. So that's we are talk.
So yeah, talking more and listening more
Yes,
and paying attention to the details more. And I
right.
know that um, we've talked before about, and again, I mean, I really respect the field, and have my sister's permission to mention one of my sisters is a physical therapy, who I would say is an exception to the norm because she does a lot of hands-on. She really works with the people, and people
Yes,
say things to her like, "Oh my gosh, that was a miracle. How did you do that? How did you heal me?" So, of course, it will depend on that also like how much time and dedication
Mm,
with all the limitations of like 15 minutes per patient. I mean, all the pressures and all the paperwork, but
right.
um and she was curious to ask you, what would you say, in addition to what you've shared, like what makes the difference? What else makes a difference in a physical therapist who can really help a patient like become pain free in
Okay.
an ongoing way, so
Okay.
they don't have to keep going back, and they don't have to keep going back.
Mentally, I try to be into client, patient. So meaning not only touching, from hold my body to use it. Even massage, use a finger, use your hand. But I use all my body. Sometimes I'm in onto the massage table or treatment table to do massage. Before I go all together, let me talk to you one thing I forgot.
Okay.
1985, I was working at the PT hospital in Boulder, Colorado. They gave to me a one patient. She was very sensitive muscle. All other PT cannot touch it. I'm only one guy who can touch it. And she was comfortable with me. So she was planning to stay in the hospital area for 6 months to treatment for PT. But I treated. She spent only 3 months. She graduated. Then after that, she went back to home in Chicago, Illinois. She told her father owned the big old hospital in Chicago.
Hmm.
Then he asked her what Hideshi needed. She said, well, Hideshi is leaving back to Japan next to 6 months because of his visa is expired. Then he talked to my boss, which is my hospital's president, what he needed. And he said, well, Hideshi wanted to have a green card, but we have no opportunity, no chance. He said, let's make his green card. So he talked to Denver governor and few other people to get the signed petitioner's document, send it
Mm.
into U.S. immigration. After 3 months, I got a call from my boss, Hideshi. Tomorrow morning, you have to go to Denver immigration office, 8 o'clock. Go. I said, what should I do? So I was so scary
Oh.
and went there.
Oh.
Then they said, well, Hideshi, okay, so why don't you come in? So immigration officer asked me to go into the building. Then they took my pictures. Like, I have my name plate standing on the height area. Like, I'm like a something wrong person,
I see.
right?
So you still didn't know. You didn't know.
No, no. Then they asked me for my 10 fingers fingerprint.
Oh, wow.
I said, oh no, I have to go home. I have to go back to Japan. Then, okay, next room, they take my pictures. Then all these US immigration take a picture for my ear because they cannot change it. So
Mm.
this way, side pictures, fingerprint. Then go next room. They ask me, Hideshi, give me a passport. I give my passport. Then they open, then look at my visa section, put a void stamp.
Hmm.
I said, okay, I'm done. So I better go home soon. Then he turned the paper to put another stamp, temporary legal alien.
Hmm.
But I cannot read it because I already panic. What's going
Oh.
on?
Oh
Then
gosh.
I ask how many days I can stay, and then when do I have to leave back to Japan? They said, what you talking about? You just got the green card. I said, what? Then they explained to me.
Oh my goodness.
Then I found it. This is a legal alien. Then, Hideshi, one thing you forgot. Your application doesn't pay yet. Please pay me $80. So I pay $80. Then whole signed document. Done. Then he said, congratulations. I said, what? So I got my passport back and take a bus, went back to the Boulder, Colorado. Then my hospital people waiting for me with a flower bouquet. I said, you guys, this is too much joke. This is ridiculous. Then hospital president came. Congratulations, Hideshi, you are legally staying in the USA for as long as you can. That is my background.
Wow.
One patient, I help. Then that was a big surprise.
Wow.
So I look at the document, spend only 3 months, and the fee $80. That's my green card came. That's a dream come true.
Wow, that is a dream. And you said there was a petition involved, so they got
Everybody, Denver governor, hospital owner, and hospital president, and the Chicago hospital president, and also another gentleman called Federico Pena, former United States Transportation Secretary.
Hmm.
He signed the document.
Well, I guess that's a pretty undeniable testimony to how skilled you are.
Yes.
I hope her father was able to receive some massage from you at some point.
Well, they know all my massage.
Yeah. Wow, what a fantastic story. And how interesting that no one made it really clear to you what was happening, so you had to go through the whole process being terrified.
They are so quietly secret. They make big surprise.
Wow. Well, congratulations.
Thank
What
you.
year was that? How long ago
It
was
was
that?
1985.
85.
Yes,
Okay. Okay.
long time
And
ago.
so do you think you know how you said mentally, I want to go back to what you
Okay, sure.
do that's not standard, what you do that's different, and why it's so effective. You talked about mentally, and using your whole, like all of your strength, your whole body, and not being afraid. And I know there are many people, and again, I'm not trying to, not, and neither are you.
Mm.
Um, I'm not trying to
Well,
put down
you
other
said
therapists, but
right.
I just want to refer to something you said, and then you please elaborate, which is, and I also have had the experience, and I know other people who have, where we are going to a physical therapist for a limited number of times, and we cannot do something
Mhm.
physically, um, but we're given minimal instructions. And as you said, I'm sure a lot of people have had this experience, we're handed papers with exercises and told to go home and do them there.
Right.
And I remember just being in tears, like, I can't.
No.
That's why I'm here. Like, can you help me move more so that when I go home, I want to do those. I
Right.
want to do exercises. I want to get better. But when you're really limited in
Yes.
mobility, it's really hard to do that
Right.
without external help until you can.
So my way is, how should I say it? I will touch the human muscle. Then where the muscle tissue connecting to the bone, where the muscle tissue connecting to ligament, I learned from school. I know. Then each time I touch patient body to figure out which is muscle. So not my brain, my finger knows where the muscle goes, where the muscle tissues. So I have a two-way, use my brain to think about it. Then my finger moving to there. So two different brain moving one point.
So you can feel the difference between
Right,
ligaments and tissue and
right.
muscle,
Yes,
and you know where they belong,
right,
and when they're out of place,
right.
you
So
you just
all fingers and also experience to learn. So I touch many people's body, more than 1,000 people body to repair. I shouldn't say repair, but the recovery way. I did it.
and and as I said, I know that one particular person, it was unbelievable what she could do on the traditional Japanese instrument, whose name I forgot, but
Oh,
boy, did that
Yukiko?
take a lot of
Oh,
wrist.
Yukiko Matsuyama. Right. She had an 8-time car accident in Los Angeles and all whiplash. But everything minor symptom, but the 8-time minor symptom become major symptom. Also, she had slightly scoliosis, so her spine is a little bit creaking.
Mhm.
Then whiplash, so much damage on her upper back muscle. Those muscle connecting to arm, so she cannot move left arm. She cannot lift anything. So she went to many doctor, chiropractor, physiotherapist. No one can figure out she had issue for her upper back. But I said, well, wait a minute. The arm is not only independent. Arm is connecting to shoulder, shoulder connecting to your upper back. Then I start deep tissue massage her upper back. Spend quite a time. Then she become normal person now. She can play. She was 2011. She got the Grammy Award.
Mm.
She was the top musician. Then
Mm.
car accident and down and down and down.
Mm.
Then she couldn't play koto music instrument for 2 years. She couldn't play.
Wow.
She couldn't hold it fork and knife. She couldn't
Mm.
eat.
And now she's going up and up and up.
Right. So now she's moving up to 45-degree angle to go moving up.
She sure is. So we have two of your photos. If our wonderful engineer Roxy could put up the photos where you can describe what's happening.
Okay. This is my sprinter. He's training with me. I mean, but he got the bad hamstrings injured. So I
Mm.
spent a few weeks to recover his bodies. Then he become running okay. So he couldn't move for almost 2 weeks. This is after third week, so he can pushing block to goes out.
Wow, only 2 weeks? That's
Right,
incredible.
right. And this is a stretching form I'm doing to athlete. He had a tight muscle hamstrings. Also, he had a tight groin muscle. And I use a technique called PNF, proprioceptive neuromuscular facilitation, PNF. So make a resistance and athlete resistance against each other, then release and push against each other and release to become more releasing muscle.
Thank you. Uh, and you can always add later, but before we talk about prevention, anything else you want to say about injury treatment and the difference between Eastern approach and Western approach of
Well,
injury treatment?
best way I should say, if you are thinking to do stretching your body, you do not to copy anybody. You have to think about which muscle you have to release.
Mm.
If you copy with somebody else, that meaning somebody else stretching, not you are stretching. That I learned from Eastern Bloc. You have to
Mm.
think about it. You use your brain.
And it sounds like you're using your brain to listen to your body
Right.
and
Always
trust.
talking in your mind. So I'm going to stretch my leg. How and which muscle and how I should do. If you don't understand, ask coach, ask therapist. I wanted to release this muscle because of this is too tight.
How important how important do you think it is to because I'm someone who's very visual. I really like to envision what I want to happen. It really helps me move towards that. So how important is it that like what I'm thinking of, for example, someone gave me a real basic anatomy book
Mm-hmm.
with
Mm-hmm.
the different systems, muscular and skeletal, and it helps me if I'm feeling like pain in my quad or something. It helps me to go and look and just with my lack of medical training to go, okay, this
Right.
must be, and I can't do too much to myself, so I'm not going to cause myself harm. But it helps me to look at pictures to do what you just said, which is
Right,
to like
right,
talk to your body and say which muscle, and to imagine, is that my hamstring? Or because I could be sometimes so
right.
oblivious, which is probably which slows down healing if you
Mhm.
can't even, like, to an amateur, how would you say to begin to talk to your muscles? If you, like, say you don't know the muscular system, with some advice, if someone doesn't have a book, they don't have time, they don't have a coach, what would you say to do mentally if you can't imagine the specific
Best way, and no coach, no instructor, and find out, lay down on your body. Lay down on the floor straight. Then each part try to move. You can find out which motion is difficult to move, meaning that direction's muscle is tight. That's the way I try to find out. So even my client coming, I ask them, go ahead to lay down. Then move your arm. How is it? So move your other arm. How is it? Why don't you move both your arms together? Can't you tell the difference movement? Oh yeah, my left arm is a little stiff tight. So that's the way. So that left arm, which muscle? Where? That's the way I'm teaching.
That's very helpful. That's a
That's
good
a
tip.
simple,
Yeah.
but important.
Yeah. It reminds me a little bit of what some meditation practices
Right?
will call like a body scan. Like, you can start like at your toes, and just move all the way up, your feet, your ankles.
If you go to yoga, you look at the instructor's movement. You try to move like an instructor, but the instructor body and your body is not the same. You can't make a copy. You have to think about it. Oh, she's moving that way. That times she is using this muscle. So this muscle is too weak or too stiff. So I have to be cautious. But many people just make a copy of instructor, then injured, then they
Yeah.
come see me. I said, I'm sorry.
Yes, and that reminds me how I did not know, when I was very stuck, let me put it that way, like muscularly
Yes.
stuck.
Uh-huh.
Um, I was very confused because I was confusing tightness with strength, because I was not an elite athlete, but I was always athletic, and I always had very strong muscles. And then when still, I thought they were still strong, but they were just contracted. And when they're contracted, they get weak. And when they're weak,
Right?
you just you can't loosen them. Like, I had to learn, you have to become more flexible before you can strengthen. And I was
Right.
just getting so confused and confusing my body. I was trying to strengthen my body because it was weak, but you can't do that unless you're relaxed. So it really helps
Yeah.
to be kind of,
Right. And let's put this way, the people who does training, physical therapy, what's the difference between physical therapy, physiotherapy, and the training? Physiotherapist teaching more use inner muscle, not the outer muscle. Inner muscle is the same as your house foundation.
hmm,
If your house foundation is not strong enough, how you can build nice house on your top? When you go to exercise training, weight training, they do more like an outer muscle. Then they become injured because of they have no inner muscle. Weak inner muscle try to become bigger muscle on top. Boom. So that's the way.
injury.
And I hate to say name, but San Francisco Giants had a baseball player called Barry Bonds. He does training. He had a big old muscle, but he always have knee injured because of inside of knees inner muscle is not strong enough to supporting to his twist body.
Hmm.
Outside of muscle is too strong. That's why his career was over. Well, he had another issue too, but this is for instance.
Hmm. Well, it's great to have that knowledge. And that reminds me, too, I want to make sure I ask you about, I know you teach some exercise classes,
Yes,
and are those to help people find, identify, and know their inner muscle? And
right,
is that
right,
what you're building the foundation, you're helping them
right.
be flexible so they can, well, tell us more. Tell us about
Okay.
your
Well,
exercise classes.
okay, my exercise class lady, she's 85 years old. She was almost no movement at home. So she found it. She came with her grandson to exercise. I teach how to move your bodies. Then she started coming once a week. Now 3 times a week she come. Then 2 years, within 2 years, she lost 85 pounds.
Wow.
My training does not lose her weight, but my training help her to move her life cycle. So she can move home, she can clean up house, she can cooking, washing dishes. She always moving inside the house. So it's meaning exercise. So naturally she lose weight. Then now she can drive a car and she can go anywhere she want. Then last summer, 2021, she went to Hawaii with her family. She fall down on the street, but she was just rolling and she was standing up. And grandson was goes, Grandma, what's wrong with you? Where did you learn? That she learned from me. She has no injury at all. 85 years old lady, she fall down on the street, rolling, and she was standing up.
She just rolled until she stood up.
Right. Uh-huh.
Wow, that is a great story. And that is a huge thing to help someone restore mobility. That is a huge, huge life-changing
Yes.
thing. And I think about, yeah, yeah, that's so much matters because when you're locked up, you're kind of locked in.
Yes.
So what are some mindset directions you can give if someone is not yet mobile? They want to be mobile. They may not even believe yet that they can become
Okay.
mobile. Like that story is amazing.
This is
85 years old.
this is all visual training.
Okay.
When you do exercise, always thinking which leg, which muscle you are using. I am asking people, how many legs do you have? Everybody said 2 legs, of course. But how do you walk? How many legs do you use to walking? They said the two. I said, show me how to walk. No, almost everybody use only one leg to walking, only one leg pushing. For instance, when you go stair climbing, this is the bottom leg, this is the upper leg. So
Mm-hmm.
this leg carry over to next step, right? That's
Yep.
times they don't use this leg, they use upper side of the legs to carry your bodies up. That's why you
Mm.
have a lot of stress to upper side of your knees. I said, push this leg, weight transfer to front leg to move next step. So this meaning you use the 2 step, upper side of your legs, knee has only 50% of your body weight because of other leg pushing. So those kind of small, teeny things I'm just teaching to the people.
Yeah.
They like it.
To
And
help.
almost nobody injured.
It's just brings clarity.
It's a
Everything's
simple,
easier when it's clear, then you know what to do.
right? So that's my way, my style.
And you have maintained classes during the pandemic, is that right?
Yes.
I know for a while you had to maybe shut briefly, but I know you have a lot of space and you keep doors open and filtering and but people were able to continue.
Mhm. They just come. And the 85 years old lady, she never ever absent. During the pandemic, Hideshi, I need exercise. Please open. Well, I'm open. Yes, please come. She did it. Then she is healthy. She never get the flu. She never get the COVID, and she's fine.
That's very inspiring.
So my gym members, not the member, gym people, nobody sickness, even influenza, flu, nobody catch cold in the wintertime.
Do you think that's because, is part of that like sweating? Is it sweating out?
No, no, we don't
No?
sweat.
Oh.
I teach where the spot you have to move. Your upper back muscle, move it, get the warm, whole your body get the warm. Even you wear the down jacket, down vest, and blanket, keep warm. This is the way, but your back is always open. You have to close your back to keep warm your bodies, not the
Hmm.
front side. Back side of your muscle is important.
Hmm.
In Chinese medicine, they call wind gate place. That's the acupressure point. When you keep warm wind gate, your body is warm.
Hmm. And do you do specific exercises that warm up people's backs?
Yes, because of I use the back stick behind the bodies, move upside down and
Oh, yeah.
move stick behind. So shoulder movement will move warm up your upper back muscle.
And what's your favorite thing to do? Do you love like coaching individuals? Do you love helping people understand how to move and relearn how to
Be
communicate?
be
And
be honest with you. I like a both way. So group session, we can more talk. They can give more information. Individual session, I can do more one-on-one to this a person to special training. So I'm not picky. So both I like it.
okay. And I'm sure your students know not to copy you. Do you do the movements in front and tell and remind people just feel how far you can go? I mean, do you
Yeah.
do you constantly remind people don't try to do what I'm doing?
No, no, no. I said to do it, but most people when they get out of my door, they already forget. Then when they come back, Hideshi, what did you do last week? I wanted to do again. Oh, I thought you remember. No, I am not.
Yes, we need tons of reinforcement.
Yep.
That's why I love coaching, because it's people who say like, yeah, yes, let's do this weekly. Let's do
Fun
this
things,
weekly until
right?
it becomes ingrained, and then eventually they can take it on themselves.
Yes.
Wow.
Every.
So
Yep.
you do massage, you offer exercise classes, and I know you keep your gym open.
Hmm.
You're totally receptive to people coming when they can, when your gym is available. And you've developed equipment. Didn't you design the equipment? Some of that
Right.
I've
I
never
make
seen.
myself everything. I make it handmade. I do not want to buy it. If I buy it, I go garage sale to pick up some dumbbell. That's pretty much it. All other equipment is cut by wood and go to some like a construction venue to picking up leftover wood and I cut it and make it.
So you not only design it, you also physically build it.
Right. Make it, then design. Not to design first.
Oh yeah, that's interesting. So, I mean, that's really interesting because usually I think of you, I need a design in order to put something the way that I want it to
Right.
be, but you make
No.
it and then you reshape it.
Yep. Because of a construction venues leftover wood, I don't know what they have. So go there to pick it up and bring home. Then what I can make it. So
I know I hadn't didn't think of this before, but it would be interesting to show some of the, I don't know what you call them, the pieces of equipment that you've designed, because they are unique and they help people stand in different positions and gain range of motion.
right, yes, that my wood box,
Hmm.
yes, like a triangle box that I
Yeah,
made it for the side of the leg and the front side. Yeah, but
right. So the
human
sides go
body
up.
is many ways of moving forward. and the sideway. So
That's amazing. So do you have any, you're just going to keep on doing this? It doesn't look to me like you have any plans on stopping.
no, I'm not stopping. No, I'm not planning to stop yet. But again, my life, I don't know how long I have a life left. So
Right.
as much as I can, I do it.
That's wonderful. Do you have any more like prevention words of wisdom?
Well, prevention now, we are talking about the COVID and influenza. Make sure the people who have to keep warm your back. Warm your back, not the front side, back muscle, warm it. That's one. Also, stretching. If you are looking for good stretching, talk yourself which muscle is tight, how we can move your bodies, and how many legs you have, how many arms you have. Always you have to talk yourself. That's most important, and prevention for your injured.
And I have a question of how do you know when to push yourself and when you're not pushing too hard? That's always been a struggle for me, like wanting to like, oh, I got to work harder, and then taking 2 steps back because I pushed myself too hard. How can you, when you say listen, when do you know it's like that's enough?
Well, that's very hard to say, but I try to gradually pushing. Then when I become, I think that this might be enough, my body said, hey, this is enough, I stop it. So always you have to talk to your body. I can do it? No. And also just to do it? No. You have to think and do it.
Okay, and just trust.
If you don't mind injured, you can just do it. That is not right.
So yeah, I mean, I've learned listening to your body is a skill. We don't learn that in school, at least in the West.
Yeah.
And there are definitely different places where you are much more in tuned. Wow, that is fascinating. I know we just have a couple minutes left, and I love to use the last minute to thank people, but do you have anything, do you have a website that
No, I don't have a website. I don't have any advertisement because of too many people come. My body is only one. So I'm trying to my own pace to work. So if they need it, they find me to come.
That makes sense. That's great. That's great. You're like, yes, you got a lot of word of mouth testimony.
For instance, today I have 20 people came. That's exhausting.
Wow.
Since 7 a.m. to today. So.
That is exhausting. Well, Hideshi, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
It was a great conversation. I really appreciate it very much, and I appreciate what you do. And I'd like to thank my sound engineer, Roxy. Thank you so much for setting us all up, and our producer, Dean. And to all the listeners and viewers who tune in, and if you're interested in my programs on anti-bias training and how to cultivate new neural pathways for new thinking patterns that learn to new actions, you can find me on my website, which is knowwhatyouwantcoaching.wordpress.com. And you can contact me that way if you have any questions for your organization or school or group, or individual coaching is also possible. And everyone, thanks again, and be sure to thank you. We'll tune in next Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Time on W4CY Radio and Talk 4 TV.
Inarticulate speech of the heart. Inarticulate speech of the heart. Inarticulate speech,